Okay, YouTube, today I want to talk to you guys about 2007 and newer, supposedly all the way up to 2019, 2020, and possibly all the way back to 2002. Camry, rough idle issues, throttle body cleaning, and idle relearns. So what we've got here, I bought this Camry at auction. Had full faith I could fix it, and if I was wrong, of course, I'd take it back to auction. But in drive, running with the AC on especially, it had such a rough idle that, you know, the clock in these Camrys is right up on the dashboard there. The hood for the clock and the LCD readout would actually be blurry and visibly vibrating. The idle was so bad. You'll find some other videos on YouTube on how to clean a throttle body, but I wanted to cover, hey, this is why we're here. This is why we're talking about that. A very, very bad idle. This isn't an in-depth video on how to get to the throttle body. I'll cover it briefly. There's two, one there and one on the back, 10mm bolts to open the airbox. You're going to disconnect the mass airflow wiring harness, the control or the purge solenoid for the evap system. You can disconnect that. There is a little plastic tab that holds the wiring to this unit, and then there's the hose from the canister, and on the bottom of it the hose that goes into the intake manifold. All that comes off. I found it much easier to remove this. There's another hose down here too. You just remove this. There's a big opening and a small opening, and basically this guy's job is to quiet some of the intake sounds of the engine. And if you look way underneath there is, let me see if I can get you a better shot. Right there, just underneath the black thing, you see two clips. The top one is a huge clip on the intake hose where it goes to the throttle body, and it's basically the same style as a radiator clamp hose, or a hose clamp I should say, if you can see under there. They're the type Toyota uses these everywhere. You pinch them and they will stay open if you pinch them just right, and then shut if you pinch them just right again. So you're going to take this off. Now, very, very important. The key has to be in the on position. The car has to not be running, and you are going to brick your throttle, your gas pedal. So it needs to be completely floored. And the throttle body is basically a tube, and inside of it is a plate. And then when your foot's not on the gas, it's for the most part shut, letting in just enough air to let the car idle. When you hit the gas, it does this. Now, the reason for the extremely rough idle and the AC making it worse is the computer is constantly making adjustments to that valve, that plate. And you know, when a load like AC comes on, it needs to compensate, and those tiny, tiny fluctuations of that plate, they're hanging up on carbon deposits. So when you look in there, you're going to see an aluminum tube with a plate. Everything above it is going to be nice, fresh aluminum, like the color of the car. Everything below it's going to be jet black. That's carbon. So with it open, you're going to be extremely careful not to touch that plate. There's a million reasons why. It's electronically controlled. The computer is working on it. You will destroy it if you touch it. So you're going to go around it. You spray around it sparingly, but enough to get the job done, and clean it with a toothbrush. Eventually, you're going to wipe it with a rag, and you're going to have a completely clean throttle body. I went a step further. I closed it. I took the bricks off the gas pedal, closed it, sprayed around it, and fluttered the gas pedal a bunch of times to try to clean the edges of it, which it did. Put everything back together, and there's going to be an instant improvement on idle. But one thing that's not covered in the other videos on YouTube, and it's very important, is relearning the idle. So with a capacitive discharge, that means both battery terminals off, and I am in no way, shape, or form responsible if you mess this up. I'm not responsible for anything, just entertaining you here. With both of these off and touching each other, nothing else, none of the terminals, not the chassis, just each other, for 60 seconds, you're erasing the computers in the car that don't have an onboard battery to prevent being erased, right? So all the data on idle is erased in that process, and then you're going to put them back on after 60 seconds. And very important, you're going to chuck your wheels. Both wheels are chucked, the front wheels. You're going to have a good emergency brake because you're going to actually be running the car. You're going to get in here, emergency brake on, put the key in the ignition, on, off, then you're going to start it and put the car in drive. Again, emergency brake on, wheels chucked, car in drive. Over the course of about 4 minutes, the car is going to completely relearn its idle. So it might not even start, it might not run without your foot on the gas at first, But this, there's a whole nother video on this other people put up on, you know, hey, I changed my battery, my car doesn't run right, this is how you relearn the idle. So all of these processes combined is going to solve the problem that was causing the rough idle in the first place, which is the carbon. You've cleaned that, and you're going to reprogram all the computers in the car with this process to relearn a smooth idle. Instant improvement with the cleaning, instant perfection with the relearn. This car it idles, I should say, as smooth as it did when it was new. I had these cars when they were new 10 years ago, and absolutely perfection. So hopefully this video helps. If it does, like it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe. You're going to find home projects, you know, tile floor, electric stuff, hot rods. This Camrys are my business, but that's my fun. So tune in. There's going to be some good stuff here. Thanks. Bye.